Yo, what it is, YouTube? It's your boy DC coming back with another bullseye video here today on the channel. I want to show you guys how I love to use optical compressors, and today I'm going to be using a different couple ones like the TubeTech CO1B, LA2A, the stressor. Let's go over a bunch of different ways that you can make things sound smooth. I'm probably going to be using mostly like a real instruments like a bass today. So if you guys do like the video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe down below. We got a page full of full presets that I keep constantly adding to, so keep constantly checking that page of full presets that will help you guys level up your sound. All right, so let's get to it right now. Let's listen to what we're working with. All right, really dope. So I want to talk about optical compressors really quickly. All right, so the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna isolate the bass because that's what you would usually use a lot of times when you have something like a optical compressor. All right, so the thing about the optical compressor, just know you're gonna use it on something slow. If you want to use it on a rapper's voice, you're gonna use it on somebody who's rapping slower with a little bit of slow tempo. Because sometimes the release time, if it's too slow, you gotta go with the flow. If it's too slow, then you already know it gotta go. All right. If it's too slow for the rapper's flow, but we're using a bass today, and look at how much this bass is like so like all over the place. It's really like volatile. This bass. If I was a therapist, I would diagnose this bass with bipolar disorder because it's up and down all over the place. Damn it, fucking bass. All right. So let's use the first original classical basso, the classical bass, which is gonna be I'm gonna use the LA2A. All right, just to show you guys the fundamentals. So usually the attack and the release is going to be fixed. You can't change that, which is good. So most important thing is just really like controlling it though. Like it's really just controlling it and keeping it in place. The ratio for the compressor is 3-to-1, but the limiter I think it's like what 10-to-1, so it's a little bit more stiff. Maybe the limiter might even work. I ain't gonna lie, on this song like this, I think a limiter would work. The LA2A, we're gonna call that the optical. LA2A optical. Okay, wait, we're gonna call this the optical pack. That's how we're gonna do this shit. I'm gonna call it the optical pack because I'm gonna give out a free pack. And then of course for the people who never fucking know, this is gonna be for the LA2A plug-in. All right, so let's get the moving. All right, so that's the first way I would use it if I had to use it on the bass. All right, and then another great way is using something like a TubeTech CO1B, TubeTech CO1B, and I would definitely use the Mark 1 actually. When I use a bass like that, I want to use the Mark 1 because it sounds warmer than the Mark 2. So now you see the fundamentals. When you use like fixed, a compressor that has a fixed attack and release, which is the LA3A2A, you don't get to control that stuff. An advantage of the CO1B is that you actually fucking get an opportunity to, literally go in there and actually change the stuff if you use manual. All right, so let's see. If I was trying to dial something in, I probably would go with a faster attack, bro, because there's so much pinging and pogging in the waveform. Of course you use your ears, but mostly, I mean, you can already see that this waveform is doing jumping jacks, so I want to get a fast attack to control that, and I want to use maybe like a slower release. So as you can see, it just sounds like the bass got more solid. You know, if it was like a ball, a basketball would be like a basketball with air versus when it's bypassed, it's still a ball, but it's missing some air. It's a little bit flat. You feel me? It doesn't have the same weight. It doesn't have the same roundness. So I played around with the ratio, and of course you want to always think about the waveform too, because just because the waveform is peaky, it's probably better for you to use a higher ratio. All right, because the higher ratio will specifically target the waveform. For me, the ratio is like almost like a detection, because I already know if I put my ratio on 4, it's gonna attack this. This, you see this part right here? This is what's mostly gonna trigger it, the peaks. But when you use a lower ratio, it's gonna target more like the belly, you know, the underneath part of the sound, which kind of gives you a round compression. That's good. That's good when you actually have something that is a smooth sound. Like if I had like a bass that looked like this waveform, of course you're gonna use your fucking ears, but still the waveform kind of gives you a hint. Okay, take that fucking hint. Take that hint that, oh, okay, maybe you know, like this is kind of already having a layer of compression on it, but yeah, you know, maybe a lighter ratio, I can try that one out. Okay, so another great plugin too that you would use is something like the 3A. All right, I don't know who has that same UAD one that I have or the Softwave, so I'm not gonna post it, but let's use the LA3A. I say that this sound right here, I would actually prefer to use something like an 1176. You know, if you're going for like that super compressed CLA 76 bass sound, I mean, but this is not an optical compressor though, so I guess that's cheating. But if you wanted this same bass sound, you know, where it's like super aggressive, you definitely would go like a fucking you definitely would rock out with a CLA 76 if you want to crush your bass by like 7 dB. I'm just showing you guys something real quick, but that's how I would go and approach something like that, is I would do it like that. Yeah, I ain't gonna lie, that's actually a pretty fucking good sound. When you just have the optical compressor crushing it like 7 dB, I think the bass is actually one of those instruments. And you know, it's only just because this bass is spiky. You know, I don't always do that, but just because this bass is spiky and I genuinely want to pin it the fuck down the entire way, that's another great way that I would use an optical compressor to literally just pin down a bass. You feel me? LA2A might just be a little bit better when you don't want to do as much compression. And also, you know, like the LA2A has a tube inside of it, which will give some density in like that plug. Boom, 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 boom. You know, it will give some density just based off the harmonic density. Okay. And then the last optical compressor I'm going to try is I'm going to use the FabFilter Pro C on optical to show you guys some of the features you can get with this one. nice one about this one is like, for example, you could also use the internal sidechain that you want, or if you want the bass to be like, okay, fuck it, I want this bass to attack more of like where that fucking knock is at. Like you could also just use this. To be honest, let me see. You could use the bell. You know what I would do? Some game is I would use the Pro Q. Yeah, so it looks like 900 hertz is what I should be targeting as the upper fundamental. That's what that's how I would do this shit. I would just say, oh fuck it, 900. Okay, I want it to like groove. I want this bass to like be mostly focused around the fact that you boom 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 that's sliding. It's kind of difficult to level match it because just the fact that the bass is more dense, it's always gonna sound a little bit more louder because it just got thicker and stuff. But you see, like the internal sidechain is fucking amazing because now like that bass is actually like the compressors looking at that boom 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 boom. So it's kind of just like more tailored to that sound specifically, and that's another great technique of using like fundamental style compression, chasing after the fundamental, and making that the detector circuit be only focused on that fundamental so it could bounce. So this is some advanced tricks that I wanted to show with optical compressors today. And I just want to say, guys, down below, you can grab this free preset pack that I just created. And also, if you want to support the channel, why not go to the website, grab a free preset, then go get a premium preset that can help you level up your sound. So I appreciate you guys. I'll see you guys next time. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Peace.